Greetings from the colonies where we've bypassed spring entirely and gone straight to summer. One full week of 30 Celsius. Glorious, soul-nourishing, buzzing. 6 straight at home for Aston Villa. Think about that. 18 points on the bounce. And think about what Professor Unai could be doing with an entire season and a squad entirely of his choosing. Should be grateful. Should be buzzing, shouldn't we? And yet, one irritating moment got under my skin and under the skins of many. Let's review that and more. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Well, here we are, 2 wins away from our best ever points total in the Premier League. We've done the double over Tottenham for the first time since 95-96. I was incorrect in the last show when I said 2008. We beat them twice that calendar year, but not in the same campaign. Not since Brian Little led Dwight York and Aston Villa to 4th. I think Samir was wearing a modern version of a goalkeeping kit from that era. Unai Emery looked suave and debonair with his fancy new haircut. Ryan Mason looked like he just rolled out of bed in what he was wearing to go catch a panic Uber to the ground. How about the streamers, part of Project B6, which looked amazing and made my heart ache a little bit wanting to be there. It was all so joyous, so gorgeous, so raucous, and yet I still can't shake this feeling we got jobbed in what could be a massive moment. It may not be, but it might be. And that's what matters. Well, I need to go through the Holy Trinity Show formalities here. It's the 3 big issues or moments that defined Aston Villa 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1, starting with the match statistics, which actually favored the visitors. This is what happens when you're chasing a game late because you've been given a sniff from a penalty. The amount of times teams were caught offside caught my eye, as a matter of fact. But when you look at this, yes, Spurs edged it on XG. We were doing a little bit better in terms of our shots on target ratio. That's a 2-to-1 ratio. Accurate passes dead even. We created more big chances. Weren't quite there with possession, but look at how many times we caught Spurs offside with that high line, and that was kind of their MO. Get in behind Villa. Play them over the top. Didn't work. Fully comprehend the concept of why assistant referees are instructed to keep their flags down in potentially tight offside decisions in order to save themselves the embarrassment of a flag incorrectly going up and a goal getting scored and it being stopped before it ever could continue. I get that part. The fact that we have to use laser lines to decide offside in the first place is a problem that, in my opinion, is eroding the credibility and, frankly, the enjoyment of football, and it's a show that I need to do at some point in the future. However, by the assistant referee keeping a flag down when decisions are not tight, when they are clearly offside, you are just asking for an injury to a goalkeeper or even a striker. And in 3 occasions in this game, there were clear offsides, I think all involving Sonny, where the flag should have gone up right away, and it did not. I don't understand this. Put the bloody flag up if it's obvious. Big issue in this game and all season, and since he's joined Aston Villa, I know you probably get sick and tired of me waxing on about Ollie Watkins, but he does so much for this team outside of what he does in front of goal. And I know he's stuck on 14 goals, his record in the Prem, and I'd love for him to get that 15th, and it's not happening for him right now. But his role in the Jacob Ramsey goal early, another Villa goal in the first 15 minutes of a match. They have 12 on the season, tied with Brighton for first in that category. But look at what he does to keep the play moving. It's probably a foul. I think advantage was given, in which case a rare moment of good refereeing by Peter Banks here, but that's selfless play. And then he sets up Leon Bailey for what should have been the 2-0 goal much, much earlier. You would have thought Bailey on his left foot would have uncorked this one and sent it flying past Forster. He did not. And there would be one more selfless moment that led to a goal a little later. Big issue number 3, monstrous McGinn. Another head-scratching moment involving the officials. 22 minutes in, John McGinn takes basically his first foul and he's booked for it. So now he's got to go the rest of the way, 3/4 of a game, on his best behavior, one of the most influential and physical players in the middle of the park, and thankfully it did not deter him one bit. I don't know what is going on with John McGinn right now, whether it's his fitness, whether it's something in the off-field part of his game, but he looks like an already fiercely combative individual, loving playing football, loving his role, loving the responsibility of the captaincy. He is dialed in right now. It is incredible to watch, and there is no question who the captain of this team is right now. He is embodying it. Sorry, Emi Martinez. Sorry, Tyrone Mings. Good candidates. McGinn's the captain, and that's the difference between now and then. He's earned it now. Not so sure you could say that at the beginning of the year. John McGinn was so influential in that game. He almost rendered Douglas Luiz superfluous in that first half. I mean, Luiz could have set up a lawn chair and had a cocktail and watched the game. That's how dominant John McGinn was in the middle of the park. 3 interceptions, 12 recoveries, 3 for 4 on successful dribbles, 75%. He had an 89% pass accuracy in that game. And I'm going to trademark this phrase, Holy Trinity Show, TM, the McGinnian Spinorama. How many times does John McGinn start with the ball facing his own goal and shake off a challenge and turn into trouble and lose a guy? I mean, I lost count in this game. And we're taught as young players, don't turn into trouble. Don't turn into what you can't see. Well, he knows what's there and he doesn't care. He turns, he gets away. And now Villa is accelerating through the middle of the park, which is what Unai Emery wants, because that's what leads to goals. It did in the 1-0 example. I mean, McGinn has become both the irresistible force and the immovable object with that giant pronounced seed of his getting into players. Big moment number 2. Dougie direct. I had a funny feeling before this one. And guess who drew this free kick? Why, none other than Ollie Watkins, chopped down from behind, taking another one for the team. And the cameras caught Dougie in this very interesting ISO, where I would love to know what his thought bubble was saying. Was he saying a little prayer as a deeply religious human? What did he say to Leon Bailey to convince the Jamaican that he was going to take the responsibility on this free kick? Because that little moment before, that breath, and then the emotion afterwards, surrounded by his teammates, it was as if a giant weight had been lifted off his shoulders, because there wasn't a whole lot of success from corners and from free kicks, and there hadn't been for quite some time. A great moment, and I kind of had a funny feeling about it just before he stepped up. I got a message from Adam Hughes afterwards. Hughesy! Wondering, could Forster have done better on that free kick? The wall is supposed to take the near post. The goalkeeper is supposed to take the far post. That's the rule. But from this distance and this proximity, you often see goalkeepers cheating much more to the middle. Now, every goalkeeper is going to tell you if they got a hand to it, I should have done better. The shooter was lucky, could have done more. It's a shame. That's what most goalkeepers will say. They won't say, I was cleanly beaten. But does it really matter? It's 3 points. That's what matters. 6 out of the last 6 at Villa Park turned out to be the game winner as well, which is a bit irritating, as we'll talk about in a moment. But really, for me, it was also Douglas Luiz getting his mojo back from the set pieces. And the number 1 big issue or moment that defined Aston Villa 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Harry Kane. A lot of people have said, Pete, why are you so wound up about this? We won. Enjoy it. Move on. Well, I'm going to give you a very long but important response to all of that. And the first thing I want to say is I have the utmost respect for Harry Kane, because he will go down as one of the greatest strikers in English history, frankly. And the reason why he has earned the respect and the success is because of this. This is his most important tool. He is very, very clever. He knows how to get in good positions, and he knows how to draw penalties. Kane knew exactly what he was going to do when this situation started to unfold. And the one unfortunate thing for Emi Martinez, who has every right to go after this ball and slide out and try to play it, the unfortunate thing is how the ball kind of hopped away from him. Like, it looked like he might have just taken his eye off of it at that stage, but if he gets even a gloved fingertip to that ball, end of discussion. That's one of the key things referees are looking for in a situation like this. Who touches the ball first? And Martinez did not get a touch. Kane actually gets a little touch past him, and then he takes advantage of the situation.
It's not penalty.
And at this moment, at this stage, this is when the con occurs. And apart from who touches the ball first, the next consideration for all referees, who initiates the contact. You tell me, what is Emi Martinez supposed to do at this stage? He is sliding out. Yes, he didn't get the ball, but can he somehow magically stop in mid-slide? Can he fall into a hole? Can he just evaporate? No, he can't do any of those things. Harry Kane drops down using his knees to land on Emi Martinez and then tumble over. He had no play on the ball. He had no real scoring opportunity here. He could have actually avoided the contact altogether by just stepping over Emi Martinez and taking the corner, but he doesn't do that because he is clever. He saw the situation and he did what he's probably done, I'd say, about 50 times in his career: try to draw a penalty.
It's not penalty.
Peter Banks was, 22, 23 yards away from the incident, slightly behind it. His assistant on the near side was about the same, 25 yards away from the incident. And Peter Banks' first instinct was corner immediately. He indicated for a corner. He knew it was an England international in a duel with the World Cup winning goalkeeper, but his first instinct from his training, from his experience, was it was a corner kick. Ironically, the video assistant referee, Jared Gillette, who when he's match officiating and in the middle of the field, has a tendency to let things go, as I have noticed an awful lot on this program. But after what felt like a lengthy check, the decision from Stockley Park was to go to an actual video review on the sideline.
It's not penalty.
It was at this moment that I realized we were about to get. The reason why VAR was implemented was for perceived, clear, and obvious errors by the match officials. I said Peter Banks was 22 or so yards away behind the incident, his assistant referee about the same distance on the sideline. But somewhere in there, after a lengthy check and then a direction to go look in the monitor and watch it 3 more times, somewhere there was a clear and obvious error from Peter Banks's initial impression of corner. I got to know Howard Webb a little bit in Major League Soccer because he was charged with implementing and then sort of educating referees and everybody else about the video assistant referee. And I'm telling you, in that role, he was excellent and really well respected. I had a lot of respect for the guy just because of how good a communicator he was and how honest he was with us.
It's not penalty.
One thing Howard used to say to us in the media, to his referees, to the leagues that he was working for: if it takes a minute to do a check and then you still have to go to an actual video review that also takes a frame-by-frame forensic look forever, it is not clear and obvious. And I would love to know what Howard Webb thinks of this decision and how he debriefed with those officials, because Howard Webb is not a referee apologist yes man like Dermot Gallagher. He used to cane referees in Major League Soccer, to us publicly, because he hated the re-refereeing of games. If it took long to try to dissect a moment, it is not a clear and obvious error. And if you want to snuff all of the lack of transparency out with one decision, let us hear the live dialogue between the VAR and the referee on the field doing the review. Let us hear those discussions. At least then we'll get some measure of accountability and transparency.
It's not penalty.
Now, most importantly, getting to the wider context and the implications of that decision and why I'm not happy just with a 2-1 win and take the points and go home and just be glad about it. At 2-0, Villa and Spurs, incredibly, remarkably, astonishingly, statistically, it's almost impossible to fathom. They were dead even on virtually every single category. Games played, wins, losses, draws, points, and even, incredibly, goal difference. Both clubs were at +5 when it was 2-0. Do you know what the next tiebreaker is after goal difference? The record between the two that season, which is what it should be, not more goals scored or fewer goals allowed, but the record between the sides. And in this case, it was Aston Villa 6, Tottenham Hotspur 0. So we have two teams chasing European competition, and at 2-0 up, Aston Villa was in 6th, Tottenham Hotspur 7th. Indisputable fact. Now think about the mentality in the late 80s of the game. Between 2-0 up and 2-1 up. At 2-0 up, could you see a scenario by which Spurs push to try to get back in this game and get something out of it, and maybe Villa seizing on the opportunity with men committed forward to counter and possibly extend that lead and improve the goal difference further? Could you see that scenario unfolding? Because I could. But at 2-1, you are not chasing a third goal. You are just trying to lock the game down and make sure you come away with, at the very least, those 3 points. Those are the implications of that one decision. Not to mention, the goal ended Aston Villa's consecutive home clean sheet record. So if Aston Villa miss out on European football to Tottenham Hotspur by a single goal, how will you feel about that penalty then? Because both teams have 2 games left. Those could all be 1-goal games either way. I'd be furious if I was the owner and that played out, because think about the missed television revenue from European football, the extra home dates, the ability to recruit players who desire playing on a club in Europe. And let me ask you this question. If Ollie Watkins, who's an honest player, probably too honest for his own good, but if Ollie Watkins was in that exact same situation as Harry Kane on Saturday, would he have earned a penalty? Well, Mark Farmington has the video answer for us at Faz1981, who reminded all of us that a couple of years ago, Ollie Watkins was in fact taken out by Hugo Lloris, who did initiate contact, more so than Emi Martinez. In fact, Martinez didn't initiate contact. Lloris did. No penalty given. And if ever there was a more gorgeous example of the lack of consistency in the Premier League from referees or reputation-based decisions, you're not going to find a better example year to year, week to week of inconsistency better than those 2 examples. And one final note on the matter. Former FIFA referee of 10 years and the former head of the PGMOL, Keith Hackett, tweeted about the incident and made it very clear, at which time he threw not only the referee, the VAR, but also Harry Kane straight under the bus. And he drove over all of them, and then he backed it up and drove over them again. Today's Holt Cam is brought to you by Mark Menzies and his mob in the Lower Holt, Block L4. Ooh, these rabble-rousers, they were getting a bit out of control at the Barton Arms, I understand. Chairs were flying afterwards. Look at that scene. Oh my goodness, it's utterly glorious. Long may it continue as we recap the points we've been tabulating for the past couple of seasons. The record at Villa Park starting to look rather sexy with 1 game left. 33 out of a possible 54 points. VAR did us, +1 on the season. A set-piece goal for and allowed, still -6 on the season. Spurs were in the top 6 at the start of the day, so 10 now out of a possible 33 in those positions, and sadly, no clean sheet for Emi Martinez. So now off to Merseyside and a date with Liverpool, who are flying right now, in fact, chasing Champions League football, which seemed almost impossible even a couple of months ago, and I just don't know what to make of it. Is Villa capable of pulling off a Benteke Weimann-like shocker to silence Klopp's cop? Why, yes, we are absolutely capable of going and having something like that happen. Do I believe in my heart of hearts that that is going to happen? No, I do not. Could I see a cagey draw playing out. Yes, I could see that happening. I could also see us getting again by some kind of dodgy Mo Salah penalty, like he earned against Tyrone Mings in this fixture last year and Steven Gerrard's return. In fact, there were hallmarks of the Kane penalty as well there. Tired player, don't know what to do, saw an opportunity, go down after review, penalty. That I could see happening. I had a bit of a chuckle at this report recently that states Villa's new head of football, Matteo Alemany, has signed some kind of agreement with Barcelona promising not to poach players away from the Spotify Camp Nou. Barcelona's not really in a very good position right now, are they? Because if they have to fund transfers and raise cash, they may have to sell some of their better players in order to refresh. And, you know, they have very little control about what the players' agents say about leaving Barcelona right now. So if they have to sell somebody and they have to sell Ferran Torres, for example, where would they rather sell him? To another team in La Liga, or maybe to one in the Premier League where they know the guy who's in charge? I'm so looking forward to the summer. I cannot wait. I mean, these reports that Alemany's been given a blank checkbook for the summer. I mean, oh my goodness, buckle up. Until Liverpool, stay well, enjoy the sunshine if you're having some. I got just a little bit too much. And as always, and of course, up the mighty Villa.